The great alien battleship named Jareth floated in the quiet of space, its massive body wounded and scarred from the last terrible battle. Deep inside, in the shining throne hall, Queen Syraxis of the Zilari Dominion stood tall. Her armor, once bright and strong, now lay in broken pieces beside her. It was more than armor. It was a living thing linked to her heartbeat and her power. But now it was silent. The glowing light that once moved through it had gone cold. Around her stood her royal engineers, tall, blue-skinned aliens with glowing eyes and long silver fingers. They spoke in soft tones, afraid to look her in the eyes. None of them had been able to repair the armor. The living metal rejected every touch. Every attempt ended in sparks or smoke. Queen Syraxis's patience was fading. The armor was a symbol of her rule and her strength. Without it, she felt exposed. To her enemies, a queen without armor was a queen ready to fall. She looked at the broken pieces and spoke coldly. "If it cannot be repaired, then none of you deserve to serve aboard this ship." The engineers fell silent, trembling. The next day, the repair bay was almost empty. Everyone feared to go near the armor. Only one figure entered quietly while the others avoided the room. He was human, short compared to the tall Zilari with rough hands, brown hair, and tired eyes. His name was Elias Carter, a low-level maintenance worker from the human fleet, serving under a cooperation treaty between humans and Zilari. To most of the alien crew, he was invisible, just another tool operator. But Elias was different. He had a way of seeing life in broken things. He stood before the shattered armor and studied it for a long time. It looked strange to him, alive yet dying. The lines of energy had stopped moving, like veins without blood. He reached out and touched it gently. The surface felt cold but not dead. "You're still here," he whispered. "You just need a little help." For hours he worked alone. He opened panels, checked energy channels, and studied strange alien patterns that made no sense at first. He burned his fingers more than once. His tools were not made for Zilari technology, but he adapted them. He replaced broken connectors with human-made wires. The energy inside the armor fought against his touch, almost like it didn't want to live again. But Elias didn't stop. He talked to it while he worked, as if it could hear him. "You don't have to be perfect," he said softly. "You just have to hold on." Time passed. The repair bay lights dimmed. The others had gone to rest, but Elias stayed. His hands were shaking when he finally connected the last circuit. The armor gave a faint hum. A soft glow ran across its surface. Slowly, like someone waking from sleep, the living metal began to move again. The blue light flowed through the seams. Elias stepped back, watching in disbelief. "There you go," he whispered. "Welcome back." When he left the room, he didn't know that the armor's pulse had reached the Queen's private chambers. The bond between her and the armor had always been alive, and when it stirred again, she felt it like a heartbeat returning to her chest. She rose from her seat, her golden eyes bright with surprise. "It breathes again," she said. She called her guards and stormed toward the repair bay. The heavy doors opened and the Queen entered, followed by her royal soldiers. Her presence filled the room. The engineers froze, afraid to speak. She looked straight at the armor, now whole, shining softly as if reborn. "Who repaired my armor?" Her voice was cold but curious. No one answered. Everyone looked at one another, confused and frightened. Then from behind a stack of tool crates, a quiet voice said, "I did, Your Majesty." Elias stepped forward, his uniform dirty with oil and soot. He stood straight but avoided looking directly into her glowing eyes. The Queen turned slowly toward him. The room went silent. "You?" she said in disbelief. "Yes, ma'am." The armor's main lattice was collapsing. "I stabilized it using human tech, just enough to bring back its energy flow." Her guards reacted at once, raising their energy pikes. A human touching royal armor was forbidden by Zilari law. But before they could move, the Queen lifted her hand. "Stop." She walked closer to him. Her tall figure cast a shadow over his face. "You used human technology on my sacred armor?" Elias nodded slowly. "Yes, the harmonic currents in your system were mismatched. I rerouted the power using adaptive converters from human repair kits. It's not perfect, but it should hold." The Queen tilted her head slightly, eyes narrowing. "You changed the royal design." "I fixed what was broken," he said quietly. The Queen studied him for a long moment. No one dared breathe. Then she walked to the armor and touched it. The metal responded instantly, glowing brighter under her hand. It pulsed softly like it remembered her. For the first time in many days, she felt its energy join with hers again. "How did you make it live?" she asked softly. Elias hesitated, unsure if she was angry or curious. "I didn't make it live, Your Majesty. It was already alive. It just needed someone to listen." Her eyes lifted to him again. "You risked punishment, perhaps death, just to do this?" He gave a tired smile. "Someone had to try." The Queen was silent for a long time. The tension in the room was heavy, but her expression slowly changed. The anger in her face softened into something else, interest, maybe even respect. "Your kind surprises me," she said finally. "You see life where others see failure." Elias shrugged slightly. "Machines and people aren't so different. Both stop working if they're left alone too long." For the first time, the Queen's lips curved into the smallest smile. It startled everyone in the room. No one had ever seen her smile at a human. She turned back to her guards. "Leave us." The soldiers hesitated, then obeyed. Soon, only Elias and the Queen remained. She stepped closer to the armor, her hand still resting on it. The blue light from it reflected on both of them. "You changed its rhythm," she said softly. "It feels warmer." "Maybe it's just responding to you," he said. She looked at him again, her golden eyes thoughtful. "You have strange hands, human. Hands that build instead of destroy." "I fix things," Elias replied. "That's what humans do best." The Queen's voice lowered. "Your people are not known for gentleness." He met her gaze at last. "Maybe you've met the wrong ones." For a moment, silence filled the room. The Queen stood tall, but there was something new in her eyes, something that wasn't pride or command. It was curiosity. She reached toward him, her claws brushing the side of the armor he had repaired. "This creation carries part of you now," she said quietly. "A union of two worlds," Elias nodded. "Then maybe it's stronger for it." The Queen looked at the armor again, then turned and walked toward the door. Before leaving, she spoke over her shoulder, her voice calm but strong. "You will report to me tomorrow, human. I wish to see how long your repair endures." Elias blinked, unsure if that was a threat or an invitation. "Yes, Your Majesty." When she left, the bay fell silent once more. Elias stood there alone, staring at the glowing armor. It pulsed gently like a heart. He felt strangely proud and strangely nervous. Far away in her private chamber, Queen Syraxis looked out at the endless stars. For the first time in many years, she thought of humans not as weak creatures of chaos, but as beings capable of something rare: care. As the stars reflected in her eyes, she whispered softly to herself, "Who repaired my armor?" Then, almost smiling, she answered her own question: "A human with brave hands." And somewhere deep within her armor's core, the blue light shimmered brighter, as if it too remembered the touch of the human who refused to let it die. The next morning, the great ship Jareth was filled with whispers. Every alien on board had heard the same story. The Queen's armor had been repaired by a human. Some called it a lie. Others said it was luck. Many believed the Queen would punish him for touching royal property. No one dared to speak loudly about it, but everyone waited for the same thing: to see what would happen to Elias Carter. Elias woke early. He had not slept much. His hands still ached from the burns of the night before, and his mind was full of questions. Why had the Queen not ordered his arrest? Why had she told him to come again? He tried to shake the thoughts away as he washed the oil from his hands and put on his simple gray uniform. He was just an engineer, nothing more. Yet somehow the Queen herself had noticed him. When he arrived at the central hall, the guards were already waiting. Their armor glowed red and black, and their tall frames made him feel small. One of them spoke sharply, "The Queen awaits you. Do not speak unless spoken to." He nodded silently and followed them through the long corridor. The air was cold and filled with the low hum of alien engines. The tall doors of the audience hall opened and light poured in. Queen Syraxis stood at the center, wearing the armor he had repaired. It gleamed like liquid silver and pulsed with blue light. She looked even more powerful than before, like a living star in motion. Elias stopped a few steps away and bowed slightly. "Your Majesty," he said softly. The Queen turned slowly to face him. Her voice was calm but strong. "So the human returns." "Yes, Your Majesty. You told me to report." Her golden eyes studied him carefully. "You repaired my armor when none of my kind could. I do not know whether that was luck, courage, or foolishness. Today we will find out." Elias frowned slightly. "Find out how?" She raised her hand. The floor panels around them shifted and metallic walls rose up. The sound of machinery filled the hall. From the ceiling, dozens of small battle drones descended, their red sensors glowing. "A test," she said. "You will see if your repairs can endure battle. If they fail, you will not survive the crossfire." Elias's heart skipped a beat. "Wait, me? I'm not a soldier." "Then perhaps you will learn," she said firmly. The guards handed him a pair of defense gauntlets. They were heavy and strange, designed for Zalari hands, but he managed to fit them. The Queen drew her blade, a long energy weapon glowing with white light. The drones began to circle. "Begin," she commanded. The drones fired bursts of blue plasma. Elias ducked behind a metal barrier as sparks flew around him. The Queen moved like a streak of light, striking down drones one after another. Her armor reacted perfectly. No weakness, no flicker. Each movement was smooth and alive. Elias peeked out and saw a drone aiming at her back. Without thinking, he lifted his gauntlet and pressed a trigger. A small energy field burst out, deflecting the shot. The Queen turned sharply, surprised, then nodded once before slicing the drone apart. "Stay close," she ordered. He moved beside her, trying his best to keep up. The hall became a storm of light and sound. Every time a drone was hit, new ones came from hidden panels. Elias used his tools to overload circuits and block attack waves. His heart pounded, his breathing quick and heavy, but something inside him changed. The fear began to fade. He was no longer just trying to survive, he was helping her fight. In the middle of the chaos, he noticed something strange. The Queen's armor glowed brighter with every movement. The energy flow he had repaired was growing stronger, adapting to the stress of battle. He realized his human-made replacements were harmonizing perfectly with the Zalari system. "The circuits are improving," he shouted over the noise. The Queen struck down another drone and glanced at him. "Explain." "The feedback loop is learning. It's syncing faster than I expected," he yelled back. The Queen gave a sharp, amused laugh, something her guards had never heard before. "You gave my armor a mind of its own, human?" "Not a mind," he said with a grin. "Just a heart that listens." Her laughter echoed through the hall as she destroyed the last wave of drones with a final slash. The noise stopped. Smoke filled the air. Broken pieces of metal covered the floor. The Queen stood in the center, her armor shining brighter than before, unharmed. Elias lowered his hand slowly. "Test complete?" he asked. The Queen looked at her armor, then at him. "It endured," she said softly. "It even evolved." He smiled tiredly. "Then I guess I passed." She walked closer until she stood right before him. He could feel the heat of the armor, could see the glow of power moving through it like living veins. Her golden eyes were sharp yet not unkind. "You changed something sacred," she said. "But in doing so, you made it stronger." "I didn't mean to offend your majesty. I only wanted to help." "And you did," she replied. Her voice was quieter now. "Your repair may have saved not only my armor but my life. For that, you have my respect." Elias was speechless for a moment. No one in his life had ever expected a thank you from a queen. She stepped past him, speaking so only he could hear. "You are not like the others of your kind I have met. You build where they destroy. Tell me, Elias Carter, what drives you to do this?" He hesitated. "Where I come from, we fix what's broken. We don't always win wars or lead empires, but we mend things, machines, hearts, whatever we can." The Queen turned her head slightly, her tone thoughtful. "Then perhaps that is what my people have forgotten." Before Elias could reply, one of the guards entered the hall and bowed. "Your Majesty, the ship's outer defenses need adjustment. We are still recovering from the last battle." The Queen nodded. "Send the human engineer to assist," she said. Elias blinked. "Me?" She looked back at him, a faint smile touching her lips. "You repaired what none could. You will now serve as my royal engineer." The guard's eyes widened, but he obeyed. Elias could hardly believe what he heard. He bowed quickly. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I'll do my best." "You already have," she said softly. Later that day, as he worked among alien engineers on the upper decks, Elias felt their curious stares. Some were suspicious, others simply amazed. The Queen herself appeared once, watching quietly as he worked. She did not speak, but the faint light in her eyes said everything. That night, when the ship drifted through the stars in peaceful silence, Queen Syraxis stood by the great window of her chamber. Her reflection shimmered in the armor's glow. She touched its surface and whispered, "This strength is no longer only mine." A knock came at her door. "Enter," she said. Elias stepped inside, holding a small data pad. "Your Majesty, the outer hull repairs are complete." She turned to him. You work fast, human. Habit, he said with a shy smile. Back home, things break often. The Queen looked at him for a long time. When I first saw you, I thought you were fragile. Now I see a different kind of power, the kind that creates instead of conquers. He scratched the back of his neck. Maybe both kinds have their place, she nodded slowly. Perhaps, and perhaps together they can build something greater. They stood in silence, looking out at the endless stars. The war still raged far away, but here, in this quiet chamber, there was something new, an understanding between two very different beings. Before he left, the Queen spoke again. Elias Carter. Yes, Your Majesty? If the armor ever fails again, will you repair it? He smiled softly. Always. The Queen looked down at the shining plates on her arms and felt a warmth that had nothing to do with power or command. Then we are both protected, she said. As he left the chamber, the Queen turned back toward the stars. Her armor pulsed gently, glowing with both human steel and Zalari light. It was no longer just armor. It was a living symbol of two worlds that had finally begun to understand each other. And deep inside the ship, where machine,